Hi, welcome back to Yarn to Table. This is episode 12, hard to believe. My name is Celeste and this is my weekly knitcast about all the lovely yarny goodness that I'm getting up to lately. You can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Celeste Full, and on Ravelry you can also find the Yarn to Table podcast group by searching Yarn to Table in the groups tab or just clicking the link in the doobly-doo here on YouTube. You can also find detailed projects on my Ravelry projects page, which is at Celeste Full, or you can find that through the Ravelry group as well, because I'm the monitor there, of course. And right now we have a KAL going on, and I'm about to announce another KAL as well. So very exciting stuff going on with that. The current KAL is the New Socks KAL, and that is running through April 30th. And the concept with this is to try some new sock technique, anything from a different size to a different fiber to a different heel to your very first pair of socks two at a time, all kinds of stuff like that. Lots more examples are in the chatter thread on the Ravelry group. And we have a very exciting prize for that, which I'm going to show you right now. I do apologize if there's a lot of background noise. Our next door neighbor is doing like some pretty heavy home renovation, so it's been a little bit noisy here. And the houses are quite close together, so when I say next door, I mean like 10 feet that direction. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, the amazing and talented and lovely and sweet Andy of the 10,000 Stitches podcast has been hand dyeing yarn. She does a lot of food safe dyeing. She actually recently recorded a great tutorial on it that features some of the yarn I'm about to show you. So definitely look her up if you are interested in getting into dyeing yourself. So she very generously offered to send me some of her hand-dyed yarn for the New Socks KAL, and ended up sending me two skeins, one for you guys and one for myself, which is so incredibly generous. Thank you so much, Andy. She also sent me some lovely tea that I'm drinking right now that is from a local coffee and tea shop where she is in Virginia. I think it's called Macau Mango or something like that. It's a fruity tea and it had like these big chunks of what looked like dried cranberries, and it's like a very bright pink color. It's really lovely. So thank you so much for that too. You are so sweet. And these are the yarns that she dyed. Oh my gosh, let me show you one at a time so you can really see them. This one has these incredible red speckles in it. And then this one is just a really lovely tonal lilac color. And this one is actually called Lilac Bush, and this one is called Peony Pops, which is super crazy because Andy said that she dyed these inspired by my aesthetic and my favorite colors, but she had no way of knowing that lilacs and peonies are like the bushes that I'm planting in my backyard. Like those are my favorites. So it's really, really crazy. When I saw the names, I was like, oh my gosh, these are just, I mean, it was like, it was so nice of her to dye the yarn and donate the yarn and to dye something special that she knew that I would love. And then the fact that she like somehow intuited my favorite flowers was just, at that point I was like, this is crazy. So very exciting. I'm still having trouble deciding which one I'm going to keep and which one I'm going to give away. I think the Lilac Bush is more in my comfort zone traditionally, but I'm so excited to see how the Peony Pops knits up that I kind of feel like I'm going to keep that for myself. Maybe I need to figure out what project I'm going to make and then decide what I want to keep and what I want to give to you guys. But either way, you're going to be getting an amazing prize. These are, I should let you know, 100 grams 80/20 superwash nylon. So they would be perfect for socks, but they would also be great for any other fingering weight project that you have. They are 467 yards, which is 427 meters. So very, very, very exciting there. That is for the new socks cowl. Now, as I mentioned, I'm announcing a brand new cowl, and this is also super exciting. I am going to be co-hosting this with Caitlin of Wool Jewel and Taylor of Wool Needles Hands. And you can find both of their channels on my main homepage. I have listed them in the featured channels tab on the right. Or you can just search for them. Or if you already watched them, then you probably already know about this cowl. But this is like such a fun idea. So it's tied into Earth Day. And the concept is that it is the Unravel along. We're calling it the hashtag the Great Unravel 2016. I think I'm saying that right. What I'm writing across the screen, I have double checked and is actually the hashtag if I have said the hashtag wrong. So the concept here is about finding a thrifted sweater. You can find one at a store as well, but I think thrifted is a good way to go. And then unraveling it and knitting something new completely from the recycled unraveled yarn, which is something that I've done a little bit of in the past, not super successfully, because the yarn that I chose I ended up not liking very much. It was just like a weird sort of, this was a long time ago, and it was kind of, I was excited about the idea of seeing if I could unravel something, but I wasn't thinking far enough ahead to like what kind of yarn I wanted to use. But Caitlin has experience with this, and I'm not sure if Taylor does. But so anyway, what we're doing is we've got from now until Earth Day, which is April 22nd, to find a sweater and unravel it. And on or after April 22nd, you can cast on. So if you're watching this after April 22nd, it's okay to go ahead and buy your sweater now and unravel it, as long as you're casting on after April 22nd. And then you need to have a finished object for one of the, or all of the 3 finished object threads that all 3 of us will be hosting. And you need to have that posted by the deadline of the cowl, which will be June 17th. So cast on date April 22nd, deadline June 17th. All these details will be in the chatter thread in the Yarn to Table Ravelry group. And so in the meantime, I will be taking you along on a vlog while I go and try to find my sweater, which I haven't done yet, and showing you my unraveling and giving you as many tips as I can. I know Caitlin already has a video up on her channel that is just about this cowl, where she shows several different sweaters, including another version of the one that she had successfully unraveled because she bought 2 of them. They were in an Anthropologie sale rack. So it's a really, really helpful video if you haven't done this before, and it also details all of the rules. All of the rules will be detailed in my thread as well on Ravelry, but just to give you an idea, it's knitting focused. If you give it a good college try, knitting, I don't know if that's what that expression means. Anyway, if you make an honest effort and there's some reason that like your yarn is just breaking, it just, you know, you really went to all this trouble and it's just not working as a knitted garment, or not just garment, but object, then you can try to make it into some other kind of craft, you know, like a garland or some kind of weaving or a braided rug or whatever you can figure out to do with it, and that will count as a finished object. But we want you to try knitting with it. We want that to be the goal. 100 gram minimum. We're recommending sweaters. It doesn't have to come from a sweater, but that's going to give you the best chance of getting a big, large amount of yarn. I'm trying to think if there are any other major rules. All of this will be in the thread as well, as I said, and if I leave anything out. And the way that we're going to do it is that you have 3 opportunities to win, one for each of our forums. So me and Taylor and Caitlin will each have a different finished objects thread and a different chatter thread in our groups on Ravelry. And you can enter your finished object into all 3 of our finished objects threads. You just need to be sure that you are a member of the group and subscribed to the channel on YouTube before you post a finished object in order to be eligible to win the prize. So there's going to be some themed prizes. I have an idea for something that I haven't figured out if it's going to work exactly yet, but it's going to be along the lines of the sort of recycled concept. And I'm also going to be giving away the Gardener's Mitts pattern by Yarn and Time Designs that I've mentioned before. So at least 2 prizes on mine. I think there will be a couple prizes on each of their threads as well. So we're really hoping that this is like a big, exciting knit along that everybody takes part in, and hopefully there will be lots of opportunities for you to win a prize. So very excited to see what you come up with. Oh, I remembered the other really important rule. We need to have a photo of before and after. So before you unravel your item, take a photo of the original item that you purchased, so that in your FO post you can post, here's the sweater, here's the finished object. Yeah, so that's basically it. I hope that you are as excited about this as I am. And let's move along to my finished objects for the week. So this week I do have a half object, and this is something that I had not even started when I recorded the podcast last week, so it's very exciting to show you this gorgeous sock here. This is my patterned socks for March. They're called the Renesmee socks, and they are by, Rachel Coopy from the ebook When Vampires Knit Socks. And as you can tell, they have this amazing ruffle, eyelets, lace. They have a twisted rib heel flap, and then just a classic Kitchener stitch toe, which I know I've been doing a lot of rounded toes lately. I do like making socks with rounded toes, but I'm feeling lately like the Kitchener stitch toes fit me better. So I might be converting back to mainly doing Kitchener's toes. We'll see how that goes. So I made some adjustments to this pattern. In the original, this lace section and this ribbed section get an additional repeat, so it's a little bit taller. I just found that with this ruffle, I didn't like the way that it would look being so high up my leg, and that they worked better as like not a total ankle sock, but just a slightly shorter sock, just because of the ruffle. And I know this is like not everyone's cup of tea. I get that this is super, super girly, but that's my kind of thing. I really like lacy, ruffly socks, and then I wear them with a pair of Jeffrey Campbell boots that I have that are like kind of open at the edges to show off your socks. I'll try to insert a photo here so you know what I'm talking about. And it just creates a really nice contrast of like girly and rugged that I love. But so I totally had those boots in mind when I made these, and I think that this height is going to look really good with those boots as well. And they knit up faster because they were shorter, so that's a nice benefit. So yeah, this ruffle is amazing. So you can tell there's actually some ribbing in it. There's these like pearls so that it goes like real nice into the actual ribbing. Rather than just being like a total stockinette ruffle. So I really like that, and it's not complicated to knit. The only thing that's not super fun about the ruffle is you have to cast on so many stitches that they're not totally comfortable on your needles. Like when you're doing magic loop, you don't have as much extra as would be super comfortable until you get through the ruffle area. But as long as you're kind of careful with it, you know, it's like very slightly fiddly, but it's not a big deal. I did make a lot of adjustments for this pattern. So this pattern was written for a size small and a size, I guess they call it like a medium. I don't know, maybe they called it a large. And even the size small was asking for like 72 stitches, which I knit 56 stitch socks, so that was just like, what are you talking about? I still haven't really figured out why they would be that way. I guess maybe it has something to do with the fact that there's so much ribbing going on. I don't know, I couldn't really figure it out. So what I decided to do, I looked at the chart and there wasn't a great way to reduce down to 56 stitches. There was a pretty good way to reduce down to 54 or to reduce down to 64. So I ended up going with a 64 stitch sock. That's a good 8 stitches more than I would normally do, but part of me was kind of like, maybe there's some reason I don't understand that this sock has so many stitches on it, and I should trust that because I don't even have small feet, and if the small is 72, I don't know. So I kind of split the difference, and I think it fits me well in the cuff. When I got to the gusset, I ended up decreasing all the way down to my regular 56 because I did not want the foot to be large on me, and it's just a stockinette foot, and I knew there was absolutely no reason that it shouldn't be 56 stitches. So I did that, and I think they fit pretty well. I mean, I haven't worn them. I just put it on my foot briefly, you know, since there aren't 2 of them, I haven't worn them long enough to see how they stretch out. But I think they're working out good like this. I have put the details for how I altered the chart, both to make it shorter and to decrease down to 64 stitches on my project page on Ravelry. So if you're interested in doing that yourself, you can find all of those details there. And the last thing I want to talk about with this is the yarn. So I'm really hoping that you get a good sense of the color on camera. I think that yeah, it looks like you are. This is just Knit Picks. This is Tonal Stroll in the colorway Pearlescent. And I think that Knit Picks does a really good tonal in their stroll. I have used their dark gray before. I think it was called Thunderhead, for some socks for my husband, the famous mulligan socks that we don't talk about. And I think there's so much lovely variation for a commercial yarn. I mean, I can't stop looking at this yarn. It's like creams and really light grays, and it's got all these lovely blue and green and purple undertones in it. And you know, from far away you don't really notice that, but I love the subtlety and the complexity of it. I just honestly, I can't stop staring at it. It's one of those things where, do you ever have those things where you're knitting and you keep pausing because you have to like admire your work? And like it's taking you too long to knit because you keep stopping every row to be like, this is so pretty. I was getting that a little bit with these, and mostly because of this yarn. Like, this part is so gorgeous, obviously, but once I got into the straight stockinette, I was really seeing the yarn and just marveling at it. So yeah, big fan of those. Oh, let me show you the yarn caked up, just in case you're curious. Yep, okay. So, 2 works in progress. Let's start with the one you've seen before. And that is my Pygmy Puff Socks. You've seen the first one, of course. And I started just the cuff on the second one, not very far, of course. This is Homespun House, Plump Merino in her Pygmy Puff colorway. Really great bright pink with speckles of purple, inspired by Harry Potter, of course. Smells like lavender because I have this lavender sachet in here. So wonderful. I'm doing these on high sharps just because they are my second pair of needles. I'm really feeling that I want to just get another pair of Chow Goos because I just don't like knitting on these as much as I like knitting on the Chow Goos. So it's been kind of like when I switch back and forth and I'm knitting on these for a while, it just makes me think, you know, cough up the $9 or whatever it is and get another needle. And these, you know, what is there to say about them? Great yarn, of course, just a vanilla sock. I'm doing a 2x2 rib, which I usually do 1x1. It is twisted. I'm doing 20 rows, which is more than I usually do, so that's an experiment. I'm gonna see if I feel like it fits better, if it stays up better or something. Fish lips kiss heel, and a rounded toe, which I still have not woven in because I'm a mess. And of course my little pygmy puff progress keeper that I made. So cute. And he's still on a detachable stitch marker because I still haven't gotten around to getting the proper O-ring to put him on a lobster clasp. So just, you know, I'm a little ashamed of that, to be honest, but I just need to do it, but I never remember to. Okay, now let's talk about the new work in progress. Pretty exciting. This is just in a canvas bag from Theory Mugler from when I bought some perfume, so it's very exciting. I need a large project bag, and I keep browsing them on Etsy, and there are definitely ones that I love, but I also kind of feel like I should just make myself one. So right now I'm just using a canvas bag. I've knit like 3 sweaters and I've never had a large progress bag. I just keep throwing them in like the same canvas bags I take to Whole Foods. Okay, so hang on. I have 2 different skeins coming off of this, so it's a little complicated. Whoop, that's not even the one. There it is. Okay, try to stay untangled here. This is the beginning of my Floam cardigan, which I've only been talking about forever, right? Aren't you so excited that it's finally happening? So the yarn is Quince & Co. Owl in the colorway Tito or Tito. It's T-Y-T-O. I don't know how they say it. It's an undyed, and it is a worsted weight 50-50 wool alpaca. The Floam is a pattern by Justina Lorkowska, and if you can't, so this is the back of the neck, and then these are sort of the shoulders and the back, and you can see here I'm increasing to create that nice raglan sleeve effect, and then it's gonna come over in the front. These are on like little scrap yarn at the moment, but when they get all joined up, then this neck part will, you know, come down the fronts. So this whole cardigan is ribbed, which before I started it, so I love the way it looks so much, so I just didn't even think about it. And then as I was getting closer to starting it, I was starting to think, am I completely insane that I would make an entire ribbed cardigan when everyone knows that ribbing is not the most fun thing in the world? But what's funny is, as I've started it, I'm so used to doing twisted rib for socks that just doing a regular rib is like a vacation. And it's not bothering me, at least so far. It's not bothering me at all. So we'll see if it continues to. I mean, I've barely started, of course. I got some time in on it today, and I started it on, I think, Thursday night. But I haven't had much time to knit on it so far. My little s'mores progress keeper, so cute. Yeah, but so the yarn is lovely, and I'm really, really excited to have another sweater for myself. This will be the first cardigan for myself. And I think it's going to be so versatile. I think I'll get a lot of wear out of it, even as the weather gets warmer, as something that I can just throw on top of anything, colder nights or in air conditioning or whatever the case may be. And it's had some interesting construction so far. I think the entire thing is going to be seamless. I've picked up some stitches a couple times. I don't mind. I actually enjoy picking up stitches. I think it's kind of magical and I like the feel of it. So I vastly prefer that to sewing seams. I know people can go either way on that. So I'm pretty excited about a totally seamless construction. And this is interesting. So like increasing width fully ribbed is not something I've done before. And So that's the only part that like gets a little bit complicated as you're going back and forth and you're having to, when you get to these increased places, like on some rows, it's still every other one is a knit, and then on some rows you're like, oh, that's a bunch of knits in a row, and you have to make sure it's the right number of knits in a row. And you know, once you've done it like a couple repeats, you pretty much know what it's supposed to look like every row, and it's fine. The increases are a 4-row repeat because they're ribbed. So that's been interesting for me because, you know, I understand in theory how increasing with ribbing would work, but I've just never actually done it. So it's fun to see. And that's really the only thing of a lot of interest so far, since I haven't done very much, obviously, but I'm very excited to be starting it. The yarn is super lovely, and hopefully I will have more to show you next week. So I want to talk a little bit about dream knitting. First, I want to recommend the Mason-Dixon Knitting March Mayhem, which is like a little March Madness style bracket for knitting patterns, and you can go there all this week and vote as they go through the rounds. So basically for the 4 conferences, they have like one for shawls and one for sweaters, and I think there's one for like other accessories, and then maybe one for like home stuff and baby stuff, something like that. So I was doing that, and I found this pattern because it was in the shawl section for the Simpatico wrap by Kristen Vajar from A Verb for Keeping Warm. And it is so cool. I'm going to insert photos so that you'll really get an idea of it, but it's just a simple square stockinette knit on the bias shawl, but the way that it's done is it's half and half, and the idea, I mean, people can do whatever they want, but what I'm going to do, what I've seen in the photos, is to use a similar yarn, a similar color in different weights, so that you create a more sheer effect, and the contrast is really about the fabric that has been created and its texture and its sheerness and its gauge, rather than color or anything really that's like an obvious contrast. Now, I don't know that this would be the most fun knit because it's just a whole bunch of stockinette, though it could be like a really nice mindless project. I don't know. So I have no excitement about necessarily like starting this anytime soon. That's why this is dream knitting. But I just love the product so much. I think it's so freaking beautiful. I think picking out yarn for it would be fun, but I think that wearing it would be really, really fun. So that is my entry for dream knitting this week. And now I have a lot of stash enhancement to show you. It's all from Knit Picks. They were having a sale, and I stocked up on some things, just some really simple yarn for the sweaters quantity for some upcoming garments that I want to make. So I'm going to share those and tell you what garments they're for and give you some photos of those. Those will be like later this year. And then I grabbed some Felici that was on sale. So, okay, so the first thing is the Felici. They don't have the labels on them just because they were like the bottom of the bag and they were falling off. But this is Soft Serve, the colorway Soft Serve. Just nice pastels. I think they will make really cute Easter egg socks. And I think what I'm gonna do, I thought about doing like a chevron, but I think that's almost even like more literally Easter egg. I mean, this is pretty literal, but I thought I would try for the first time, so I could go in my new socks cow, doing that thing where when the color changes, you like slip every 3rd stitch or every however long you want to go stitch, and then it creates like a little pattern where there's like one stitch that sort of jags down into the next stripe. It's a really, really simple thing to do with self-striping that I've never done before, and I think would create that sort of pattern that really makes these into something a little bit special. So I'm excited to do that. And then the other yarn that I got. It's just solids and they're black and red, so don't get too excited. But really what I want to share with you is the garments that these are for, because that's what's really exciting about them. So the first one is Lindy chain in black. And if you don't know, their Lindy chain is 70% linen, 30% cotton, and it's a fingering weight, and it creates like an actual, it's like a crochet chain rather than being plied. It's almost kind of like a ribbon, but a little bit different. I don't know if you can exactly see that. Yeah. So this I'm going to be using for the Amalia, which is a really lovely camisole with a peplum. I love peplums. And I'm very excited about some kind of more summery garment knitting that I want to get going on coming up this year. So this isn't going to be one of the first things that I make. I have some other yarn and some other patterns in mind that I'm going to make soon. But this is something that I do plan on making later this year for sure. And then the next black is Capra, which you may be familiar with because I've been talking about it recently. It's a DK weight, 85 merino, 15 cashmere. So I don't really know what I'm showing you here because it's just black yarn, but it's very soft. And this I have gotten for what's called the puff sleeve feminine cardigan. It's all about the shape, this one, so like that's why I really like the idea of it just being in black, because it's got all of these other details about the shape of it. And I really like the idea of it being just like soft and cashmere-y, and it almost reminds me of like a kind of fairy tale princess costume. Like there's something about it. I don't know if it's the puff sleeves or just like the shape of it that kind of reminds you of like a shift or something, but it's like I almost feel like it could be part of a Snow White costume or something. Obviously it still looks very nice and modern, and you can play it up to be more casual or more dressy or what have you, but I'm really excited about it. I think it is super pretty, and I think it's going to knit up fairly fast given that it's short sleeves and DK weight, so that will be very fun. And then the final sweaters quantity I have, so exciting, it's not black, you guys. This is called Cranberry. Yeah. And this is Gloss DK, which is their 70 merino, 30 silk. So it's got a bit of that shine, and it is gonna be for the, what's it called? The Gibson, which is a rolled collar, vintage inspired, short sleeve, little topper. Definitely looks like something Jackie Kennedy would wear. You probably know if you've watched from, I think it was my first episode, that I'm very into that Jackie Kennedy shape neckline in all of its slight variations and forms, whether it's like a mock turtle or more of a rolled collar. I just love all of them. So I'm very excited to find buttons for this Gibson and for the puff sleeved feminine cardigan. I think I'm going to go to a local shop we have that has a big variety of buttons and pick them out in person. But if I don't find anything there, I'll probably just scour the interwebs. Because I'm using such simple yarn, I do think it might be nice to have something really special going on with the buttons, but I could also see making the buttons just something really simple that blended in. I'm not really sure what direction I want to go with that, so that'll take some thought, and I will probably do that closer to when I'm actually making these garments, which is probably going to be this summer sometime. Yeah, so that's my stash enhancement. And now we're going to move on to Chit Chat. So if you are sticking around for Chit Chat, thank you, and let's kick back and start some knitting and some some chit-chatting. And if you're not, thank you for coming by for all of the knitting talk. And I hope that you will come back. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet and you want to hear more from me. And give this video a thumbs up if you like it, because that helps other people find me. So thank you so much for watching, and let's get into the chit chat segment. So I have made the mistake of starting this chit chat segment with a sock that is like 5 rows from the end of the cuff, so I might have to stop periodically to count, and if so, I will edit that out. Sorry about that, you guys. Yeah, good job there, Celeste. So anyway, what I want to talk to you about this week, a couple challenges with knitting. So the first one is knitting goals and the kind of stress related to them. So I shared all of my yearly knitting goals with you last episode, and you know, I was buying these sweater quantities and thinking about all these different things that I'm planning on knitting this year, and kind of just getting overwhelmed by it. And I do like to plan ahead, but at the same time, this should be fun, and sometimes planning takes off some of the pressure, and then there are other ways in which planning will put on undue pressure. So I started kind of rethinking things, and I still have patterned socks in mind that I want to make every month, that I think I am probably still going to stick to, and I do still like the idea of having a vanilla sock going on the side, but I think at some point I just conflated those ideas and thought, okay, I'll also be doing a vanilla sock every month. And I don't think that's necessary. I think I can just do vanilla socks in my spare time when it's good vanilla sock time, and when they finish and I start the new one. Like, I don't think there's any reason why I need to have 12 vanilla socks done by the end of the year in addition to the 12 patterned socks. Like, that's not even something that I meant to have as a goal. I think it just, like, my goals and my ideas got crossed over, and the next thing I knew, I was feeling like I was going to get behind on socks, and if I didn't, then I was going to start falling behind on the garments I wanted to make, and it just became this whole thing where I was like, why am I doing this? So I'm going to relax a bit on my ideas for the vanilla socks. I just want the vanilla socks to, like, be their own thing that can come and go, and, like, I can take as much time as I want with one. It's just for my spare time knitting. It's not a big deal. And for now, I do want to stick with my plans for the pattern socks that I'm going to be doing every month. But if I start falling behind on those, you know, I might skip over a month, and I'm just going to try to be okay with that. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, I think I did a good job this week with getting a lot done on this sock, but at the same time, I think I could have done more on the floam if I hadn't felt like this sock needs to be done in March, because it's the March sock. So it's like, it's a constant give and take, and I'm sure this probably sounds really ridiculous to any of you that are just more spontaneous knitters, and you're probably like, well, why do you have to give yourself all of these limitations? And the fact of the matter is that I think there are benefits to both ways of doing things, and it's all about a balance. And I know spontaneous knitters who end up with so many works in progress going all the time that they're overwhelmed by that, and then they don't feel like they can start new projects because they let themselves start too many new projects without sort of thinking about their planning, and then that ends up being overwhelming. So I think that there's a lot of ways that we can overwhelm ourselves if we don't know ourselves and try to find that balance. So that's what I'm trying to do right now, and we'll see how it goes. The other knitting challenge that I want to talk about is more of a physical thing, and that is carpal tunnel syndrome. So I don't necessarily have it. I don't know. What I know is that recently I was having a lot of trouble opening jars, to the point where I couldn't open them at all, and my husband was at work, and I was trying to make myself dinner and open the spaghetti sauce, and it just couldn't get opened. And I was really frustrated. I was like, I don't know why this one, well, there were two jars of the same spaghetti sauce. I tried both of them, and I tried all of the tricks. I had the like no slip thingy, and I whacked it with the knife to get the dent in the lid, and just nothing would work. And I'm a pretty physically strong woman, so like that's not an issue for me. Like, sometimes a jar is difficult to open, and I might ask my husband to, just because it's convenient because he's in the kitchen. But I've never been in a situation where I was home alone and like could not make dinner for myself. And it was really frustrating, but it didn't occur to me that there might be something going on with me physically. I just thought there was something wrong with those jars, like something had happened at the factory that made them too tight. So then my husband had a physical with his doctor. I think she's a nurse practitioner, actually. It's not important. And one of the questions she asked him was if he had wrist weakness or trouble opening jars. And he said no, but it's funny, my wife has had that recently. And she told him about like some little tests, like with tapping on a certain part of your hand and like doing this thing to see if your hand went numb and stuff. So then I came home that day, and he didn't tell me what he was doing, and he did these little tests on me, and they were kind of inconclusive. It was like, oh, I think that's tingling, but I don't know if it's tingling in the place that you're asking me if it's tingling. Like, it was a little bit inconclusive. And he said, you might have carpal tunnel syndrome. And then this is kind of embarrassing, but I cried a lot because I think that I thought that it was more serious than it kind of is nowadays. You know, in the past, people used to get really expensive surgeries that would then like make their carpal tunnel even worse, and it was like no one knew how to fix it. And I think there was just a lot of like hype going on, and we've sort of figured out that the surgeries aren't the right thing to do now. But keep in mind that I'm a writer for a living. I spend 8 hours at a keyboard typing. That is my way of earning a living. It's also my passion. I was just accepted into an MFA program for creative writing. And then my other passion that I do in the evenings for hours is also tiny repetitive finger movements. So in that moment, the idea that I might not be able to write or knit, but it was like my life was flashing before my eyes, and it was really scary. And he calmed me down, and he told me that there are these. Sorry, I'm going to stop this for a second because I need to count the rows. He told me that what you can do now is get these wrist guards. They look like what you wear when you go rollerblading or something. Like, it keeps it so that your wrist can't move. And if you wear them at night, it allows your nerve to not get pinched. Because the other thing is, when I sleep, like, I'm always sleeping in like some crazy position with my hand like completely bent, which is pinching the nerve probably. I also have hypothyroidism caused by Hashimoto's disease, which is basically, that's not like a super serious thing if you're freaking out, but it's a hormonal disorder. It's an autoimmune disease that causes my thyroid hormone to underproduce, which means I just have to take synthetic thyroid. But you know, it causes a lot of issues with like weight gain and making it really impossible to lose weight. And apparently it also causes swelling in the carpal tunnel, which leads to carpal tunnel syndrome. So those two things are very closely linked. So another piece of evidence that makes me think, oh my gosh, maybe I'm getting this, even though I haven't had like huge symptoms yet. So he said, you get these wrist guards and you sleep with them at night. So his doctor, his nurse, his healthcare provider told him about these wrist guards and said, here's what you should do nowadays. It's not a big deal. Sleep with these every night. It'll give your wrist the chance, like your nerve won't be pinched at night, and then this, you know, it'll let the swelling go down and everything. And then even if you do all of this stuff during the day, it should significantly reduce any kind of symptoms. So hopefully doing that is going to be enough. You know, and if it's not, I guess I'll have to cross that bridge when I get to it. Maybe I'll have to wear these when I'm at work typing. They're insanely uncomfortable. I absolutely hate them. I hate sleeping with them. They're awful. But it's worth it if it means that I can continue to do the two things that I love to do the most. So I just bought them on Amazon. They're like neoprene and they itch, and I've been trying to cut the thumb hole a little larger so that it stops like poking into me, and it's getting a little better. And yeah, so I've been wearing those, and hopefully that's gonna be going okay. I guess I'm gonna ask my doctor about it when I see him next, and see if I can, you know, I guess, I mean, yeah, see if I can get like a proper test done in it, like what my husband and I were trying to do at home. Although it's not like some kind of easy thing, like it's a syndrome. So syndromes by definition are just a collection of symptoms, and not necessarily like a clear thing where we understand the cause and we understand really clearly how to treat it. So I feel like I'm saying a lot. Anyway, I hope this isn't too much of a bummer, but I actually thought about bringing in my little wrist guards for my stash enhancement segment and being like, here's a nice little knitting accessory that everyone needs. I thought that would have been kind of like a nice little dark comedy moment for you guys. I'm not very freaked out by this anymore, so don't worry about me. I was really, really, really upset at first because, like I said, yeah, I had an idea of what carpal tunnel had been, what people talked about it as being in the 90s when it was a really hot topic and everyone was getting the surgery. And I think I also was a little bit conflating it with Alzheimer's. I think I had the idea that it would be degenerative, and that if I was showing symptoms before the age of 30, that I was just probably totally doomed. But that's not the case. So if you are having any of these symptoms, because you guys are all knitters and that's putting you at risk, any kind of repetitive movements, especially of just the fingers, you know, make sure that you, as much as you can, are using positions where your wrist is as close to straight as possible. And in particular, you don't want it to be bending too much, I think, in this direction, although I think this direction is pretty bad too. So whether you're typing, whatever, try to set yourself up ergonomically, knitting, typing, any of that kind of stuff. And if you are noticing any kind of numbness or trouble opening jars or weakness or anything, get yourself some wrist guards, sleep with them at night, and see if that helps, because you know, there's no reason you should have to suffer, and nighttime is a good time that we can let ourselves rest and then set ourselves up for success to do the things that we love during the day. I would just hate if any of you out there had this same problem and you felt like you needed to lay off the knitting, if there was something else that you could do that would also help, that you could just do at nighttime and allow yourself to still do what you love during the day. So just want to look out for all of you if anybody is having similar problems out there. So I feel like we kicked things off on a really high note with the knit along news, and then I feel like I just brought you guys really far down with this carpal tunnel talk. So hopefully that's not the case. It's really fine. It's good. It's getting better the more that I'm breaking in the wrist things. They're slightly less uncomfortable, so it's all good, everybody. Don't worry. And so exciting about the cows. Thank you so much to Andy again. I can't tell you thank you enough. You're so talented and so kind, and just what an incredible, exciting package to get in the mail. And thank you to Caitlin and Taylor for inviting me to be part of this awesome Unravel along. I think it's going to be so much fun. I really hope all of you out there will join us, and I cannot wait to see what kinds of sweaters you buy, the kind of yarn you get out of them, and then what you turn them into. It's just going to be like so much diversity and excitement in those chatter threads. Like, I cannot wait to see what everybody's doing with that. So that's what I got, and I will see you guys next week.